Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hopefully, wherever you are in the world, you're having a good day. Obviously, here in the United States, we are celebrating Thanksgiving today. So I always like releasing a video on Thanksgiving, regardless of which, to just send a big thank you to all of you out there that watch my channel, watch my videos, and I have a lot to be thankful for this year. My new daughter, I have a great job with Racer X. I have a lot of really awesome people in my life right now, so just generally speaking, I'm very thankful, and I want to extend a thank you to all of you fine people that watch all of the videos on the channel and everything along those lines. So what I'm going to do today is a 20-minute plus one lap main event here from Atlanta as Ken Roczen on realistic AI difficulty, no assists, etc., etc. So I'm trying to make this like super authentic here and give you guys a little bit more gameplay to watch, but I wanted to take the opportunity here to answer a lot of the frequently asked questions that I'm seeing about Monster Energy Supercross for the official video game, which we know will be coming on March 11th, 2021. This is an alpha build of the game that Milestone has graciously allowed a lot of us YouTubers to play here for the last little bit. So I'm going to play Atlanta and hopefully not do too bad. I got a good start last time I played this track, and that helped a lot. There's also a weird glitch on the over-under jump, so you're going to see some guys like going backwards on the track because they're going to be stuck over there. That just seems to happen on this track. I don't really know why only this track it happens, because St. Louis it doesn't seem to happen, even though there's a tunnel jump there. And the AI is very difficult to pass and work your way through, so I'm sorry that I'm probably going to end up getting stuck in the back of the pack now, but I'm going to try to make some cool things showing off here about this track and some different things you can do. But like I said, wanted to take the opportunity to answer some frequently asked questions in this video, because there's been a lot of questions being poured in over the last, well, really day or so since I did the first video. I'm sick and tired of landing on all these guys. All right, so the first question that I wanted to address, because it seems to be brought up every single year, every single time there's new footage or a new game or something along those lines, and the discussion of Reflex always comes back around. MXRS ATV Reflex, released in 2009, an absolutely great game. One of probably the greatest game of all time for motocross gamers. Really, really good physics, revolutionary graphics at the time. Has pretty much everything us gamers still want out of these games. With, you know, the ruts worked, the whips were amazing, the air physics were incredible, etc., etc. And a lot of people say, why can't we just get Reflex 2? Why can't these game developers figure it out and make Reflex 2? Now, I've answered this question a lot of times before, but let me just, rehash it all out here real quick. I'll try to make this as short and simple as possible. So first of all, Milestone isn't Rainbow Studios, which created the MXRS ATV Reflex games. So they have nothing to do with that. They have nothing to do with the proprietary workings of that. They weren't the developers on it, nothing. So because of that, I give them kind of the pass when it comes to that, because they started from scratch with a game called Mud, the official motocross game or whatever it was, back in 2013, when there was literally nobody developing a motocross game for console at the time. Rainbow had gone out of business with THQ, so there was nobody making a motocross game. So they started with Mud and have built up to this point with their own development cycles, their own different things that isn't related to Reflex. Now, why can't we get Reflex is because THQ went out of business in 2011. They went bankrupt, they liquidated all of their assets, and that included the code for Reflex. So Reflex is gone. We're never gonna get that code back. It's nowhere to be found. I've talked to plenty of old developers, new developers, everybody that had anything to do with Rainbow Studios then and now, and they're not going to get it back. And the problem with recreating it and trying to do it from scratch again is all of that development cycle that they had originally to build Reflex in the first place is lost. Every meeting, every little detail that they updated about the game, everything that they went through is gone. So if they start from scratch again, they're going to get a different product. That's just the way that things work. You're going to do things 10 times out of 10 and end up with 10 different products. So we're not going to get Reflex again. And the closest we really have at this point is MX vs. ATV All Out, which is they tried with the concept of starting with loose air physics and working sort of backwards, I guess, and you can see the product that they have now. A lot of people like that game. I like that game. I have a blast when I play that game, but a lot of people also don't like how free and really kind of loose the game is, and wish there was a little bit more buttoned down for a realistic feel. So I can get both sides of the coin, and I'm just trying to kind of present the facts when it comes to there. And before I move on to the next question that I want to answer, I wanted to more or less hit on people that have been just saying that it sucks that I'm one of these people that constantly promotes the game and never wants anything to change. That's absolutely completely false about what my opinions are with this game. I 100% know there are things that need to be fixed. I am not blind to that whatsoever. There are glaring problems with this game that have been problems really since the first games, and they haven't made many improvements in those departments that they need to. None the less of which is ruts. They don't have working ruts. They had working ruts in MXGP3, but that was on an old engine, and when they switched to Unreal 4, that lost everything that they had again. So, switching game engines and starting over from scratch, you're going to have a new, different type of game that you're building again, and that's exactly what happened with them as well. So, the ruts in this game, no, they don't work. There are no deep ruts that hold you. There are a couple like sand sections and other things that I've come across so far that like have kind of like notches in the ground that you can hit, and they sort of work as ruts then, but it doesn't, it doesn't change. They're always the same notches. They're always there. You can always go through the sand to hit those same notches. So there's that, which is, I guess you can look at it as like maybe that's a positive because at least there's something there, but they definitely need to expand upon that. Like I said, I'm not blind to that fact. We need to get ruts in these games because it's such a huge part of motocross and supercross. Like that is, everything that you're taught as a youngster about learning how to ride and getting used to hitting corners and stuff like that. You have to get used to hitting ruts because you're going to run into them, especially on a racetrack. Like ruts always develop on a racetrack, and in this game they are pretty much non-existent. Does it feel like Monster Energy Supercross 3? Yes, absolutely, it does. It's a somewhat updated version of it. I wouldn't say slightly. There are definitely some fixes. The ground physics feel a lot different to me, personally speaking. The air physics feel pretty much the same. You can still kind of throw sort of somewhat whips. I wouldn't even call them whips in the air, but maybe if you watch my Dylan Ferrandis gameplay, you saw some of the things that you can do that are sort of like a whip. You can lean off the bike a little bit, but for the most part, the scrubs that you use off the triple faces and stuff like that are still pretty much like the scripted kind of lean over little thing that they've always had with these games, and it doesn't seem like it's changed too much. Now, they are still in alpha, and maybe that is something physically that they plan on still working on, because they do say that they have some tweaks that they want to make to the physics before they get to the final release 4 months from now. And remember, it is 4 months away, so have to keep that in mind that we're not dropping the game tomorrow and this is the final product end all be all. But yeah, it feels very similar to Monster Energy Supercross 3 because it's just the next generation of the game, right? And I've kind of hit on this a little bit before, but they have to release a game annually. They're contractually obligated to do so. Things are slowed down somewhat by the pandemic. I mean, we all have to take that into consideration, and the release date was pushed back because of that. They're still probably suffering with not being able to work in some of the same offices and different things like that, and it definitely affects the development process, no question about it. So are the changes going to be ginormous from SX3 to SX4? Not particularly, but we can still look at some of the nuanced details that maybe they tried to fix and see what it is that's better or worse about them. That's exactly what I'm trying to do as objectively as I possibly can. Are the AI challenging has come up quite a bit, and to a degree, yes. I'm on realistic difficulty. I have no assists. I've had the game, for a couple days now, gotten a little bit more used to it, and I'm finally figuring out how to come through the field. It's definitely hard to make passes and make things stick because the AI just kind of moves around willy-nilly and doesn't all too often react to something that you're doing, which is a little bit frustrating and annoying to have to deal with. They do say in this build notes that we've received from Milestone that the AI are something that they absolutely are still working on developing and trying to fix and get things a little bit better with. So I wouldn't say that they are finalized with the AI yet, and I would say that 100% they do still have some things to work with. Just like any past game they've ever released, the AI are pretty darn good on some tracks and just not that good at all on other tracks. And usually what happens there is it comes down to like one or two ridiculous lines that we, the players, can get away with doing, so the AI can't do them or what have you, and suddenly we are doing something that's much faster, and we get a huge time difference lap after lap because of that. So I think that's kind of what ends up happening on those tracks. But you can see here it seems like we're just able to do kind of the same things as the AI. The racing is pretty close. It's taken me a long time to come from dead last to 8th, and we still have half the race to go, so I still have a chance to probably get up to 1st if I continue cruising along. But they definitely challenge you. They bang bars with you. They sometimes go out of their ways in corners to mess with you, bang into you, whatever it is. So unique a little bit because that's a little bit better than Supercross 3, and there's still development to be done there, of course. But so far it does seem like that to a degree they have a good challenge to them on some tracks. I don't know if it's, we only have 6 tracks to play. It seems like 3 of the tracks, they're either, pretty difficult or really difficult, and the other 3 tracks, they're fairly simple or kind of easy to fight with. And as soon as you get used to the track, it's not too difficult to take them on a regular basis. Which riders are in the game? So it's a good question. A few of the key ones to hit on are, obviously I'm playing as Ken Roczen. Adam Steenstrulo's on a 450 in this game. Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb, Jason Anderson. Marvin Muscan is not in this game, and it doesn't sound like he's going to be added. Now, the reason I think that is because Muscan was injured for the 2020 season, and I don't think he was ever 3D scanned for the game and different things like that. So they probably never got around to doing stuff like that, and then contract negotiations and all that stuff probably played a little bit of a factor like it has with Kenny and Eli in the past. But he doesn't appear to be in the game, nor does it appear that like Malcolm Stewart is in the game. I haven't seen Freddie Noren. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple other people, but if you want to see everybody that currently is in the game right now, again, I don't know if they're adding other people or not, but currently in the game, we just posted on startyoursystems.com a list of every single rider that we see in this alpha build that is in the game, so you can go check that out. There's a link to that in the description, so if you guys want to take a look, that's where you can do so. Next question I'll answer is, are there sponsored helmets or sponsored, I guess, things in the game? You can join factory teams. That's going to be pretty much a staple of the series moving forward. I think that's one of those features they really don't want to ever get rid of now that they've opened up that can of worms, if you will. But sponsored helmets, I can't see that being a thing that's going to happen. I don't know 100% for sure that that's a no right now because we don't have access to customization or career mode or anything along those lines. But to get the rights and the licensing and all that stuff for those, brands like Red Bull, like Monster, like you guys want, it takes a pretty good amount of cash to do so. And once they're already spending a ton of money to get some of these riders in the game, kind of falls down the wayside to not have, sponsored helmets. I agree that it'd be something that would be really cool to have. And fortunately, us PC players are kind of lucky that we have a lot of guys that mod the games and add stuff to the game like that. But, I don't foresee that being in the game, but I can't confirm 100% that they are not. I'm just going to say that it's pretty likely they are not. So what are they still working on is a good question. There's a lot of things they're still working on. They obviously have a lot of customization, interface stuff. Track editor, I know they're still deep in working on updating the track editor and getting all that sorted. They're building out the compound still. A lot of things like that. Yes, they are still probably tweaking the physics a little bit. Yes, they probably are still tweaking the graphics a little bit. And obviously they have a lot of different bugs and glitches, like them sitting there in front of the finish line and turning and never getting straightened out. Those things all are being fixed. But they are still working on things. There's a lot of things that they are updating to this game probably as I speak. And, that's why I always urge you guys in the comment section below, if you have something that you really want them to make a change to, really it's more or less minor fixes that you see that they could update or change. Bugs I think that they're always going to try to fix, but any little minor fixes that you guys see, that would be something that in the comment section below be a good idea to bring up. And as I just got off the topic of AI, So I do believe that the skill tree thing that they talked about will be the ability for us to change the AI to be faster. Some AI will be faster, some AI will be slower. If that's not what it is, then they really should look into that, because this is a little bit kind of annoying that we end up having, you know, James Weeks and Chad Reed out front when Justin Barcia, Ken Roczen, Jason Anderson, and Eli Tomac are in the race. Not for nothing, but I'm sorry. Maybe Chad Reed maybe has a good race or two in him in 2020, but obviously only finished, you know, top 10 once or twice. And James Weeks doesn't often make main events. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be brutally honest here, but to a degree, we need to have like the perennial front runners be the perennial front runners in an authentic Supercross game. And I think that's something that they probably are going to at least clean up a little bit, if not give us the full ability, like I said, to fix that ourselves. So keep that in mind, that's something that I think they're still probably working on trying to update. Let's see what other questions. I have a whole list of things here on the left side. Why does the gravity seem to pull you down so hard? Now, this is something that I've actually always had a bit of a stickler problem with really any game. Like, even to a degree, the MXRZ TV All Out series, well, Supercross Encore, for sure had this problem. I feel like they don't have gravity right. Like, they don't have the trajectory of when you take off from a jump until you land correct. Now, I feel like camera angles can manipulate that, and if I go to this, I think this is called the follow cam, and the other thing I was on was called the gameplay cam, you can see that it looks like really weird. Like, it looks like I'm floating up way into the air and then suddenly falling out of the sky. Like, this is, you know, way up and then falling out of the sky, way up and then falling out of the sky. Whereas this camera, I feel like, is a little bit better, a little bit more static. It's farther away from the rider. I'm finding myself a lot more comfortable with it. So I think that to a degree, the camera does have a bit of a play in there. But I 100% agree with the people that say that the gravity just doesn't work right. And when it pulls you back to the ground, it just seems to sap so much of your momentum. And I don't understand why that is. I don't know why they have it so that when you land pretty much even straight up and down perfectly down the backside of a jump, it seems like it slows you down rather than gives you more speed. That's something that I definitely want to see them work on. Want to see better flow, better just overall physics with that, because it absolutely, in my opinion, does need some tweaking and some more working on. Even if we already have like a game that feels like it can flow pretty well on occasion, there's some things that they need to button up with that, especially when it comes to like casing jumps and kind of skimming through rhythm sections. They've worked on it for sure. It's not as bad as it was in like Supercross 2, or maybe Supercross 1 was pretty bad as well. But this game, it's not as bad as just literally whooping through a bunch of singles. But it still is something that needs some tweaks, for sure. I get this question a lot, and I actually haven't got it too much since this game has we've started showing footage of it, but I still get it, and I still feel like I answered a lot. Why can't we just copy the physics of an MX Bikes or an MX Simulator and put them in this game? Well, the real reason for that to me is simulated games in general are not very appetizing to the masses. So someone who's never seen a Supercross before, or maybe they've been to a Supercross once or twice, they don't want to pick up a game that's going to take them several hours to learn how to play and get good at. They want to pick up something that feels and looks like Supercross and just play it and just be able to pick it up right away. So yes, for us hardcore moto fans, we want something that's fairly simulated and has these awesome graphics like this game does, but it's just not practical for the game companies to do. They have to have an easier aspect to it, and because of that, it's obviously going to be not exactly what we want as players, because there's going to be some quirky arcade-ish things that you can do in these games. That's always going to be true. And like I said, they do have some stuff they have to work on, some stuff they have to fix, but that is 100% the reason why we don't see them just copying sim physics or MX Bikes physics and recreating those games for console. So just wanted to touch on that real quickly. And last but not least, I've already kind of talked about this before. Why don't they take their time, just make a game that's actually good? Just take their time, take a year or two, make a good game. Well, I talked about it a little bit at the beginning of this video as well. They are contractually obligated to release a game every single year. That's what the series that they sign these contracts for demands, because the series wants to have a marketing tool for their series. Like, yeah, we're a legit sport/series. We have a video game that even goes with it. That's the whole point of selling their license off to this game, so they have another marketing tool in their hands to use. So because of that, they are hitched, Milestone is, to having to kind of, you know, get stuck in the same ruts that they always get stuck in and stuff like that. I agree. I 100% agree with you people out there that say, I wish that they could really take their time and make a really good game, like the people at Rockstar Games who have for 7 years ridden the coattails of GTA 5. You know, like, I wish that we had a GTA 5 level motocross game, but, you know, for them, they can't really do that. You know, GTA can, because they don't have a requirement to release a game every single year. But, you know, for these motocross games, the licenses decree that. So I know, I feel like that's kind of obvious, but I feel like I also have a lot of people ask that question, like, why can't they take time off? And I just like to hit on that. Now, as we have 2 laps to go, I wanted to end by kind of just sharing my general thoughts on the game and finishing off with some thoughts about it. I've already said it many times in this video, but like you guys are always complaining about in the comments, no, I don't think that this is the best game ever. I don't think that this is a completed product. I don't think that this is everything that us moto gamers have ever wanted in our entire life. I don't think that at all. I know 100% for sure there are things that need to be updated, but I'm a pretty positive person for the most part, and I really, really enjoy playing moto games more than anything else. Even if the games are a little bit wonky, I prefer the moto games to anything else. FPSs, other sports games, all that stuff, moto games for me all the time, every day of the week. So I try to find the good in the game, and to me, there's plenty of good to be found in this game. There's plenty of really solid ground physics and needing to slow down for corners and you know, actually race instead of just wide open, you know, never let off the throttle kind of stuff. Are the air physics weird? Sure, but they're getting better. They're doing some different things. They're allowing us to move around on the bike and, you know, throw little tweaks and weird quirks here and there. So, you know, there's plenty that needs to be fixed. There's plenty that they haven't solved yet, but I think that if we give them, you know, time, we continue to support them, they're going to work towards it, I think. That's just my opinion. Some of you guys don't agree with it, and I understand everybody has different opinions, but I think that at the end of the day, this team of developers wants to work towards something that is appetizable to the general fan and the hardcore fans like us. So I just, you know, give them that benefit of the doubt and hope that we eventually cross that bridge when we get there, if you will. So that's all I really wanted to say about that. I know you guys always like to say that I'm just, you know, promoting the game because, you know, I have a close relationship with them or whatever, but the reality is I do want these games to get better. I have a vested interest in wanting these games to get better, and I care about this genre of games a lot more than any other games as something that needs to get better. So I appreciate all the feedback that we've gotten. I appreciate the comments and everything that have come through so far. Hopefully I've answered some of your guys' questions. If you still have questions, please head to the comment section below. I'm happy to try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. If not, I'll also reference to the Milestone crew and ask them questions if there's something that I can't answer, so that I make sure that I get you guys covered off. But I appreciate you guys stopping by, watching another video here on Start Your Systems. Hopefully you're having a lovely Thanksgiving wherever you are as well, and we'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.